Being a conservative is just like being so stupid. Like, yeah, guys, let's not progress.
And now it's time for Brad versus TikTok, my daily segment where I take on the craziest ideas from the Clock app.
Pronoun of the day is slugs.
Today, we're going to take a look at a wild rant from one TikToker about why conservatives are dumb and stupid and awful. Buckle up and get ready to lose some brain cells with me.
Me and my friend were talking yesterday about how being a conservative is just like being so stupid. Like, yeah, guys, let's not progress. Let's not try to change things. Let's keep it all the same and pretend that it's awesome. Like, the level of stupidity that it takes to be a conservative, and I don't blame a lot of people. Like, if you grow up in a rural town and that's all you know and that's all you heard, like, you know, I'll give you some grace. But people who like are conservative and y'all live in like cities or suburbs and you have like a normal education and you are shown a lot of different ideas and stuff and you still choose to be a conservative, what the fuck? Like, you're just dumb. You're just dumb at that point. You're like willfully ignorant. And the fact that like people like Ben Shapiro use facts don't care about your feelings as a slogan when they ignore 99.999% of the facts is crazy. And then you call them out and you're like, oh, well, this study actually says this. And they're like, really? Because this random ass website that has no study attached said this. Like, they will literally deny science because they want to think that they're right. They'll deny research, even though they campaign the slogan, facts don't care about your feelings. Like, that is a whole nother level of stupidity. Like, I cannot imagine being a fucking conservative in 2024. Like, that shit's ass.
Wow. So, while she does seem lovely and is just so incredibly articulate, I do have some problems with this analysis. For one, conservatives do not oppose progress. In fact, when we talk about conservatism versus progressivism in this abstract sense, what they're opposing is change. But not all change is progress. Sometimes things get worse, not better. Some new ideas or proposed changes are bad ideas that would lead to worse outcomes or even chaos or death or destruction. So it's not that they just oppose all progress, it's that they disagree that the proposed changes are, in fact, progress. There's an interesting conservative philosophical concept called Chesterton's fence, and essentially the extremely bastardized short version of it is that if you come across a fence, you shouldn't tear it down without at least first asking, why did they put up that fence? And I think conservatism at its best is basically doing this. It's trying to preserve valuable institutions and traditions, and at least push back on the people who suddenly think they know how to rewrite thousands of years of history, because sometimes they do, right? Some changes are for the better, but sometimes they don't. And sometimes they're arrogant and think they can remake the world and don't realize that in doing so, they're actually destroying something that's there for a reason. And that's why I actually see a lot of value in both conservatism and progressivism as general concepts and ideologies and perspectives in a society. You need that push and pull. But people like this are incredibly close-minded and think the world is so simple that it's just good guys versus bad guys, and that one ideology means you're just stupid and dumb, and the other one means you're wise and brilliant. It's incredibly childish. It's a toddler's way of approaching politics. And I have to laugh at the part where this progressive person says that Republicans and conservatives rather oppose and ignore science and they deny science. Because, babe, I can think of a few issues where lefties deny science, okay? And in terms of denying studies and that kind of thing, or citing sources that don't have a study attached, I mean, yeah, because a lot of studies, frankly, are bullshit, are bogus, are totally unscientific, are activism masquerading as science. If you don't believe me, just Google the words replication crisis, and you'll find that much of what's been published as research in recent decades actually can't be reproduced, meaning that when other people do the same experiment, they get different results, which suggests something deeply flawed with the studies and the conclusions they're reaching. So we can't just accept studies as gospel. They're one tool that provides useful information, but we have contradicting studies on different topics, and just because a study says something does not mean that it is so. And that's actually kind of a lazy and shallow form of thinking that many progressives engage in, where they essentially outsource their thinking to academics in an ivory tower somewhere who've gotten an idea laundered through an ideologically corrupt echo chamber of a peer review process. Unfortunately, though, the commenters on TikTok kind of ate up this chick's video and just loved it. One person wrote, "I realized this when I was like 7, 28 years ago. It didn't make sense to me as a child. Like, one party wants to grow and one wants to stay the same forever? How do we stay on top?" So you think you figured out the world at 7 years old, but the other people are the ones who are stupid and simplistic. Got it. Another person writes, "You're a conservative for 2 reasons. Either you're ignorant or you're evil." Yeah, I don't have a lot of respect for people who actually think the world is so simple that good people can't reach different conclusions on complicated political, moral, and social issues. It just, to me, reflects a shallowness of your thinking and a closed-mindedness that I don't have a lot of time for. Another person writes, "This is why I also have no patience for moderates in this day and age. Moderates are just embarrassed conservatives." Yeah, of course, I should have seen that one coming. People like this would call me a conservative, even though I wouldn't use that word to describe myself. And what's funny about that is they are essentially like saying, if you're not fully with us, you're against us, and therefore pushing the moderates into the arms of the conservatives. So it just makes no sense as a matter of strategy. Another person writes, "Right, like the opposite of woke is asleep. They literally want to close their eyes." You've got it. You've got it all figured out. Conservatives, they just want to close their eyes to the world. Totally right. Great, thoughtful analysis. Where's the Nobel Prize in political science? Give it to this lady. Another person writes, "Conservatism is rooted in spite. They don't want this country to get better because they're fine with their level of suffering as long as minorities suffer more." Wow, the pessimism of this worldview is really something. You think so many of your fellow Americans just hate everyone and just want everyone to suffer? No, it couldn't be that they have different ideas about how to improve things or what will work or what won't. They just are happy to suffer as long as some of their fellow citizens suffer worse. Dude, your pessimism is off the charts, and the bad faith is off the charts as well. Like, I don't look at leftists this way. I think they want good things most of the time, but just have ideas that I think are deeply flawed and wouldn't lead to good outcomes. And in many cases, or in some cases, I disagree on what those ideal outcomes are. But it's like, I don't think they hate everyone and want us all to suffer. That's a very myopic view of the world and of your political and ideological opponents. But unfortunately, that's the level of analysis that passes for political thinking on the hellscape that is TikTok. Let me know what you thought of this crazy video and the even crazier comments in the comment section below.